not my normal position. Kicking back. Been up on the roof trying to stretch my back out now. Anyway, something's been kind of distracting me. I made several mistakes because I was thinking about it. And my wife, my life partner, she said I need to let people know a little more about how I think so that maybe they can take some of that and use it in their life. And, like I've told people that it's gave me more energy to know that my goal is to make other people's lives better. So anyway, what I want to say is the sense of adventure is what young people actually have, should have, and that we kind of lose as we go along. And I think that is really important, that we keep that sense of adventure. Now, does that mean be foolish? Sort of like you don't want to be an old person like Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh. Like, oh. But a lot of people get that way because they're being safe. They don't want to do anything that's risky, but then you don't want to be foolish like Tigger, who bounces around and does all kinds of stupid, gets himself in trouble. But you want to have the adventure that Tigger has. You want to have the willingness to learn and to go out and try something new. And there is some risk, even in the business tax papers. If you're in business for yourself, everything is at risk legally. It's in that paperwork, all at risk. So, to have a business is to have everything at risk. And to go through life and to start a business, everything is at risk. Think about, Columbus has been on discussion because people want to tear down the statue, but what a sense of adventure that guy had to go where nobody had gone. Of course, he thought it was going to be China, a new way to get spices, but it was a sense of adventure that took him beyond what anybody else had done. And when he arrived there, he mistaken what it was, but it was still that sense of adventure that got him to this place. And then there's Lewis and Clark. They went across the United States, which wasn't the United States then, and perils and danger and starvation and all kinds of strange things. That sense of adventure took them there. And anybody who's ever started a business, if you want to talk about successful ones like Apple or Windows, all those guys had to have a sense of adventure. Any business has to have a sense of adventure. It can't be cold and calculating like people make capitalism out to be, because there's so much more to it than just being mathematical. Because if that was the case, creative people wouldn't be in charge of businesses. People who are thoughtful, like Elon Musk, who's different thinking than a lot of people, and people think of him as strange because of it. Well, actually, strange is not normal. Maybe we're not adventurous enough. So what I suggest to everybody is that you try to keep your sense of adventure. So we were talking and had to take a pause, but I think when you wake up looking forward to the adventure of the day and what you might learn and what you might see and how you might improve, and looking for opportunities that present itself. I think my wife calls me a serial entrepreneur, like as if I'm a murderer or something. Serial murderer. But I think that the youthfulness is something we lose and we need to keep as we go along. And I think young people have gotten so focused on what disparities there are. They do, oh, it's not fair, that kind of thing. And instead of looking for an adventure to go out and make things themselves. The idea of socialism itself is not adventure. It's already been done. Hundreds of millions of people have died underneath it. So it's not like you need to explore that area. It's been done in multiple nations across different hemispheres and different kinds of people, and millions of people died. Over 100 million in 100 years. It's been tried. That's not the place you need to go. But Elon Musk is talking about going to Mars. How about we just break down to the microbes and see what we can learn and build as far as immunity to certain things. And the adventure of life is so big. You don't need to be foolish. I mean, when I was young, it was like all the guys wanted to, hey, why don't we try standing up in the back of a truck going 70 miles an hour down the road in Texas. And next thing you know, we're all like, hey, let's stand on top of the cab of the truck going 70 miles an hour. Let's stand with our hands straight up in the air 70 miles an hour. Now, that's the kind of adventure that you don't need to keep your life safe. You could die. But like going kayaking and things that you haven't done, and going places you haven't been, and I mean, a lot of times people try to attribute that when you're older to like midlife crisis. Of course, I'm not midlife. I'm 59, and I wouldn't call myself at midlife in any case. Nor would I chase after, which is what a lot of people attribute men to midlife crisis. They start chasing after younger women. See, that's their idea of getting young again, is that sense of adventure that you might have with a young person, being around that enthusiasm. But you know what? That's wrong. The woman you have, there's an adventure in getting to know her and every bit of her phases of life, and the beauty and the wonderful things that you might see as a human being, as a man with a woman particularly. That doesn't always work out. I mean, but your adventure should always be there. You should look to make things better, to go where it hasn't been gone, to make other people's lives better is a great big adventure. So be adventurous even if you're 70. I knew a man that was, his name was Mr. Hamill, and we were renting a house from him when I was a teenager, like 13, 14, 15. He was 70 something years old, still working on his house, but he owned 15 or 20. He owned one in Brazil. This was a 3-story house, and he was still adding on to it. Every time he came in the area, he stayed in an outroom in one of the buildings that he built, and he went different places, and he would work when he felt like working, and he worked just about every day that he was around us. But then he would go to Omaha or to Seattle. And that man lived an adventure. He built things, and it made him feel better. And the adventure is, he's testing himself. He's older and doing what other people, say you shouldn't do. You should calm down, retire. And maybe you have health issues. A guy that was a big influence with me, his name's Sonny Henson. He had a heart attack, got where he's in a wheelchair, a number of issues. Sonny, that didn't stop him. Friends told me that even in a wheelchair, he built this 10-foot tall inside garage with pulleys and steel. Of course, now you understand he had a lot of skill along the way. He and I used to build awnings and buildings, when I was young. And so that guy in a wheelchair built things, and people are handicapped. Their challenges in life is their adventure. So if we get infirmed, we break a leg, we lose a foot, we have health issues. What can we do inside those limitations? That's our adventure. What can we do to make our relationships better with other people? That's constructive. That's building things. And that's what we need to be doing, is encouraging one another, not disparaging to one another, not tearing up things because we're unhappy. You need to be helping one another. Think of all the energy that all these protests, the energy that they did. If you put them all together to make community centers or buildings, low-income housing, put that energy that they use in walking around, and we call it a protest where they tear up things. Think of what if they took that energy to build things, to make those people's lives that they're trying to bring recognition to. What if they put that adventure, that energy, that youthfulness into building things together? How much more power would that be? Look what we're doing. You know, hundreds of millions of dollars going to Black Lives Matter. You know, how many people could we help with those hundreds of millions of dollars that went to Black Lives Matter, and all that energy and protesting and tearing things up, which steals from the message? Why couldn't that Black Lives Matter be building things, making things better? Look at this as an example. So that adventure is in each one of us and our limitations. Our adventure is our life. And when you quit having adventure, then either you're getting busy living or you're getting busy dying, one or the other. That's what Shawshank Redemption's all about. Saying either get busy living or get busy dying. So have a great big adventure every day. Wake up and think about what adventure you're going to have today.